Getting my charger and that out the way. Right, excuse me for a minute while it probably moves about. Right. Let's just see if I can find the live on the iPad. Got to give it a minute. Right, there we go. We're on. I'll just wait for a few of you to join me. Lost a butterfly there. In a bit of a mess today, so I just know it's going to be a real faffy day. Hi, Laura. Hi, Lucy. All right. Hopefully, we get a few more of you join. I said my desk is a bit. I thought I'd done a really good job of clearing it up this morning because from the last time I had a bit of a crafting session, I'd left it in literally a mess. I think I had about that much working space left on my desk, but it's now a complete mess again. So I think it's going to be one of them days where I'm losing everything. But then again, it's nothing really new for me, is it? I'm always losing everything. So yeah, you're going to have to excuse me if I do lose bits. Hi, Mum. So I think we've got a few of you in, which is great. So I'm going to have a play with some MDF today. I thought I'd change it up a bit from my usual cards. I do probably, well, I think cards are my sort of go-to thing to make just because, well, I think card making was my first, it's what got me into crafting really. But I do try and do a few wooden pieces as well every now and again. Excited to see this live. Oh, thank you. So yeah, I'm going to use this set here. I've already stamped out a couple of the butterflies just because I want a few of them. I think I'm going to have one more butterfly on this project, but I'm not very quick at cutting out and stuff, so I've done a little bit of prep. But yeah, I've used this stamp set. I was going to say I think it's from one of the newer Stamperia collections, but actually I've just been on the website and there is a new collection on there which looks rather interesting, so do go and check that out. But yeah, this is the Quiet Days collection, and it's just their butterfly set. Now I really love this set. It's got a bit of everything on it. If you've seen my videos before, you'll know that I absolutely love kind of background and texture stamps. So, you know, the script on this I love, and the inky splodges, I think it's perfect. And it's even got some little borders on it, which is great. So yeah, I'm quite excited about using this set. And I'm going to also be using the hydrangea paper. I did want to use that gorgeous, there was a lovely Stamperia one. Sorry, there's a lot of reflection there, isn't there? Yeah, I did want to use that really nice Stamperia one with the daisies and stuff on it. I can't remember what collection that's from, but it was so pretty, but it's out of stock. I'm hoping it will come back in very soon because it's really pretty, and I really want to have a play with that. I said I can't remember what it's called now. I'll have to have a look. But anyway, so I'm going to pop these somewhere I'm not going to lose them, hopefully. So the cheese boards. Now these come in a pack of 2. You get a rectangular one and a circle one. I actually really love these cheese boards. I think they're, you know, really nice just to sort of decorate. And what was it? I can't remember what I was going to say. I think for the 2 boards, I'm hoping I've got my pricing right. I think they're £9.99 for the two boards, which is actually a really good price. I love that stamp set. Yeah, it is. It is such a lovely stamp set. I think I'm probably going to use that one quite a lot. I've actually got a card idea that I really want to do with that one. So yeah, I'm sure I'll be using it quite a bit. Oh, for once I got the price right. So they are £9.99 for the pack of 2. And I said you do get a rectangular one and this circle one. So yeah, I've already, obviously when you get them, they'll look a bit more like this. I have already given mine a coating of gesso, just to save a little bit of time during the live. Now, so I think I'll make a start. So this hydrangea rice paper is from also from the Quiet Days collection, and it is just called hydrangea. I wrote on the back so that I could actually remember what it was called, or what, what collection and that it was called. Laura is very kindly putting all the links up to all these products that I'll be using. Now I am just going to pop a little bit of copy paper behind this because I don't really want to get glue all over my mat. Now I'm probably this live, I think, is probably going to be lots of back and forth, because what I might do is pop the rice paper on here and then pop it to the side for a minute, leave it to dry while I fiddle about with some butterflies. Sorry, get my words out. And then I'll sort of come back to this. So there's going to be lots of faffing, I think. Right, so I've got some Mod Podge here. There are quite a few different Mod Podges on the website, I believe, isn't there, Laura? This one, you can see I've had it quite a while, but this is the matte one. I think personally I prefer the matte one to the shiny, to the gloss rather. But I guess it just depends what sort of overall look you want. But I can't remember if this one was actually on there, but as I said, there are quite a few. Sorry, I'm actually just struggling to open it. It shows how long it is since I've been to it. I should have maybe got my son to, oh, there we go. Got my son to open it for me before I went live. So I'm just going to start by applying a very thin coating of this. Now, because this is an A4 sheet and the cheese board is slightly bigger, it isn't going to cover the complete board. So there is going to be a little bit of faffing around, and I might cut a section of it off and stick it on the side where, where there's going to be a gap. So at the moment, I'm just, as I said, applying a thin layer to the whole board here. Right, my brush to the side, and then just going to carefully, let's bring that up. Now where the hydrangeas are on this side, I want to make sure that that is sort of covering that edge. And as you can see, there is just a small area where there is a gap where it doesn't quite meet. Right, what I'm going to do is, because I've got rings on, I'm just going to get another piece of paper. Actually, where's my little stamp press thing? I'm just using my little stamping tool just to sort of give it a nice push into that wood and sort of get rid of all those air bubbles. Right, hopefully that's enough. Right, now what I'm going to do, I'm not going to cut it right close to the edge just at the moment, but I am going to grab my scissors and, oops, I'm knocking everything there. I'm going to snip this area off here. Let's turn it round, might be a bit easier. And I'm sort of hoping I might do, I'm just trying to figure out how I want to do this. So I'm just going to snip around the flowers a little bit. Just because there's some sort of leaves and things that have been cut in half. And maybe some of these flowers, just, I'm not going to sort of snip it all off, but just sort of enough and work around, just so there's not such a harsh line, if that makes sense. So there was like some half leaves there that I didn't really want. It's going to look odd if you've just got half a leaf sticking out here. So I might stick that about there. So let's grab my brush again and just apply some glue to this area here. There we go. Right. Now that's stuck on, let me soak that brush, because otherwise I'll end up with a really hard brush, which I really don't want. What I'm going to do now is just pop this to the side for a minute, and sort of just let it dry naturally. I don't really want to put the heat gun on that too much. So I'm hoping it'll dry. Where can I stand it? Let's put it down there for a minute. So I'm just hoping it'll dry enough so that we can then file the edges down a bit once it's dry. Right. So I'm going to move on to some of the butterflies. As I said, I have got some butterflies already stamped and cut. Ooh. I've also stamped a few smaller butterflies here and cut them out, because I said I'm very slow at cutting. Oh, hi, Chris. It's beautiful rice paper. It certainly is. Yeah, it's really lovely. There's quite a lot of Stamperia rice papers that I've got my eye on at the moment. Now, I do have to apologise. It's just started raining. I don't know if my phone's going to pick that noise up, or if it's going to block it out again. I know last time we discovered that my phone cut out all the background noise, which was really bizarre. I guess somebody will maybe say whether they can hear it and hear the heat gun today. I don't know if it's going to be a magic heat gun and not make a noise, or who knows. Anyway, let's go with another one of these butterflies here. Said I think this is such a beautiful butterfly. I just really love this whole set. So I'm just going to stamp it in some VersaFine Clair here. Goodness, it's gone really dark where it's the clouds have come over and it started raining. I guess in a way it's good, because then there's no glare, is there? Sometimes you can have that horrible glare on everything. Right, so let's just stamp this. You can't hear the rain, or perhaps my phone is blocking out all the noise again, which is great. I mean, I know last time my son sort of had a fiddle with the settings on the phone, but I did tell him to leave it. I don't know if he did or not. Because actually, I quite like the fact that it does cut out some of the background noise, especially if it is raining, because it can get quite noisy in here at times when it's raining. Right, I'm now going to use some Wow Ultrafine Clear Embossing Powder. Just give that a coating. I think I'm going to have to grab some more of this embossing powder. I'm running on the low side. And then we shall just emboss this with the heat gun. Now, you'll have to tell me if you can actually hear this or not. So at the moment, I'm still using, I have actually just bought a new heat gun, but I haven't changed them over yet. I think I'm so scared that this one's going to pack up while I'm live. So I've got my new one right beside me on standby just in case. I think I'll carry on using this for a bit longer. Goodness, the rain is really coming down now. We've had rain on and off all day. Currently very sunny but windy. Yeah, it's kind of been the same here. It actually sounds like we've got hailstones. I love that butterfly. Silent heat gun again. Can't hear the heat gun. Wow. I don't know if you can still hear me, but we've actually got hailstones at the moment. Um, I'm hoping you can. I'll just sort of carry on and hope that it passes. I'm just going to cut this out. Goodness, it is so loud. So surely you must be able to hear that in the background. You can't hear the rain. Wow, I can't believe it. I'm sorry. I probably sound like I'm shouting then on this live. Um, it's honestly so loud. I can barely hear myself think it's that bad. But I'm glad that you can't hear them. I can hear you fine. Oh, that's brilliant. You can't hear the rain or the gum. That's really good news. I said it is so loud. So yeah, it's quite nice that you can't hear that. All right, as I said, I do apologize. I'm not very quick at cutting out. I do quite enjoy cutting, but I'm just not very fast. Oh, it's quieting down now. I do apologize if I was shouting then, but yeah, it's can't hear the rain or how. I can hear it where I am really loud on the flat roof. Yeah, it's really bizarre, isn't it? I said it's great that you can't hear it, but it must have sounded like I was shouting over them because yes, it's amazing. Technology is quite clever, isn't it? Blocking out all that noise. But luckily it's eased off a little bit at the minute, but it could get worse again. Who knows? I guess you'll tell if I start shouting again. Right. Now, generally, when I cut butterflies out, I do tend to snip the antennae off. Um, this particular occasion, I am going to cut them out. If you really don't want to fiddle about cutting them out, you could just snip them off still and draw them on with like a black fine liner pen once it's stuck down. Or I guess do the usual of stamping it on. I think because I'm working on rice paper here, I am going to try and snip them out. Yeah. Probably should have done a bit more prep in terms of colouring these in so that I'm not boring you colouring them all in during the live, but I did sort of run out of time. So I'm just leaving a bit of a sort of white space around those antennas just so that I can just snip around them. Obviously, if you cut too close to the line, you will end up snipping them off. Right, there we go. Luckily, I didn't snip them ones off. Let's get rid of that paper. Right, now to colour them in, I'm going to use my favourite pencils. So these are the Tim Holtz Distress watercolour pencils, and I'm a little obsessed with them. I've used them in a couple of other videos, and honestly, they're amazing. For ages, I was put off by the price, I think, of these. So I think one set is I think it's 24.99, is it? For a set of 12. Now I have mixed mine up. I've sort of put them all in colour order now. but honestly, they are so worth the money. They are just they're incredible. They're the most intense watercolors I've ever used, and I think what I love the most is the fact that they match the distress inks and oxides. Um, so yeah, right. Let's just pick out now the hydrangeas. I think are a pink and purple color. So I think maybe we'll use mostly pinks and purples here. I might bring in a little bit of yellow. Don't want it too bright. Sorry, I'm just trying to figure out what colors I want. So maybe fossilized amber. Let's go a bit of seedless preserves as well. So I'm going to try and color these all a little bit different. Now, when I color these, I'm literally just scribbling on some color. I'm not going to be too precious about, um, coloring in all the little pieces as such. I'm just sort of going for it, really. It's starting to come down really heavy again. I can't believe this rain. Yeah. I think it started doing this a little bit yesterday. We had sort of rain, then a bit of sunshine, then a bit of rain again, and yeah, it's crazy weather at the moment. It's more like the April showers, isn't it? I think. So yellow on the edges on this one. As I said, I'm literally just scribbling. So I'm not even too worried if I'm sort of leaving some white space in between, just because when you come to use the water brush on it, it's it will sort of you can fill those gaps in. So I'm just adding a tiny bit of yellow. As I said, I'm not really spending much time at all on these, sort of colouring them. I'm just being really, really rough. So again, I'm doing these smaller ones just with sort of a slightly different design if I can on each one. So that was fossilized amber there. Let's go in with some pink now, I think. And again, I'm just sort of, whoops, spin that round. This is picked raspberry. Said I really love the fact that you can just pick it up and you know what you're getting. If you're used to working with the distress inks and oxides, you know exactly sort of you're going to pick that color up and it's going to be, you know, sort of the same as the inks and things. I really wish I'd got these sooner. And a bit more pink on this one, I think. Where should we go? Let's go for some pink on the ends because we haven't got that yet. So I definitely want them all to look a little bit different, even though they are all the same colour. And these smaller ones, thankfully that rain's kind of easing a bit again. Although I keep saying that and then it gets heavier and heavier. Let's go for the middle here. And the edges. I'm sorry, I should have done these before, shouldn't I? Never mind. Right, some villainous potion. Let's just fill in some of those white spaces that I've left. You could always go in afterwards if you wanted and add some more sort of detail. I may do that. I'll see how we go. Let's maybe bring in this one. What's that? Wilted violet. Just a slightly different purple, isn't it? Colour this last one in. We like watching you colour. Oh, thank you, Chris. Oh, I don't want to pull that antenna off. Right, let's just add a few purple tones on here. Let's go for that dark one where it's quite small. I think I want to bring in a darker colour. Now I've left the body here because I will colour that in a brownie tone. I always prefer to do the bodies a sort of a brown tone. There we go. With my browns. There we go. So we've got some ground espresso there. And if you don't like sort of the white around your antennas, you could just sort of colour that in a sort of brown colour. I'm not too worried. It might sort of make it pop out a little bit on the sort of busy background. Right, let me put them away. Now I'm using a proper water brush here just for quickness. Just making sure there's some water coming out. So now with these, I tend to start with sort of the lightest colour first, and then kind of dab where the colours blend. Obviously here I have gone to the purple rather than the pink first, but I'm just sort of dabbing that line to blend it, and then going into the pink. Sorry, I'm using my hand as a palette, which I really shouldn't, you know, to dab it off, but I don't. Let's use that bit of paper. That'd be better, wouldn't it? Rather than my hand. So as I said, that sort of edge there where it's, I don't really want the purple going into the yellow because you'll sort of get a brownish colour. So I'm just sort of dabbing that join. There we go. So what you could sort of do is go over it and just add a sort of another colour in if you wanted. I might actually just add some sort of crease line, you know, some darker detail work. You can see how intense these colours are. They are lovely. And they are just so easy to work with. Sounds like that rain's actually stopping now, which is great. I can't believe you couldn't hear it. So in between mixing those colours, I said I'm just sort of dabbing the ink off. There we go. And then this one here. And so I'm starting with the yellow again on this one. Now with the pink, I am sort of dragging that into the purple because it doesn't matter if them two sort of mix. Right, that's the bigger butterflies all done. And again, I'm just doing the same on the small ones. I'm just sort of going to dab these smaller ones because they're quite tiny. I'm not even going to worry too much about taking that ink off. There we go. There we go. Oh, missed a bit there. Right. So that's the butterflies more or less done there. I'm going to pop them over to the side. I don't know if I will use actually all of them. We'll see. I'm going to bring out the MDF board again. Luckily, that has actually dried enough, I think, for me to now work on. So I'm going to grab a nail file, if I can see it. Did have one here. Where did I put it? I don't know if that one will be strong enough. Here we go. So I've got a nail file here that I keep purely for crafting. It's a bit messy. All I'm going to do is just scrape it down along the edge, and then you'll see it sort of starts to break away. So I always find this a little bit easier than cutting. And if you miss bits, just go over with the file and you can sand it back again. Now, because I've got this quite big chunk here and I can't get the nail file down, what I'm going to do is just slit it down sort of fairly close and then just carry on sanding. Now this middle bit, I think I am actually going to, because I'm not going to get that file down yet. I will have to just sort of snip, I think. What I could actually do is get the craft knife on this side, if I can see the craft knife. No, I think that's gone warped out. Oh, I know what I have got. I have got like a little mini file that I'm going to poke down in there. Obviously, if you've got a little nail file, that would work really sort of well. Or you can just use a craft knife to sort of cut it away, but you will have to make sure it is nice and dry if you're using the knife. Otherwise, you will sort of tear it. Right. Let's just get rid of all those little bits. Oh, hi, Joe. I made it. I've been out and didn't think I'd be back in time. Put water around the edges. You can, yeah, you can put water around them. I just tend to use a file, I think, to do mine. Let's get rid of that mess. Right. Just trying to think what I want to do next. what I probably would do, I think I might do this now actually. Um, I'm not going to do all of it while I'm live because it is going to get a bit boring. So I would tend to go around all the edge here just to give it a nice finish off. But what I am going to do is go around this sort of inside edge and just add a bit of gold. So this is, I should have said, shouldn't I, the Pentart wax paste. I hope this is still on the website. I should have checked that actually before pulling it out. I love this stuff. I use it quite a lot on projects. But as I said, I would go around that outside edge, but I'm not going to do that while I'm live. Oh, hi, Shelley. So I'm just dabbing bits off, and as I said, just sort of dragging it in. I think it sort of finishes it off when you sort of have a bit of gold. You could also, if you wanted, do a bit of gold embossing powder. I think actually that's what I'd planned on doing, but I couldn't find the my gold wow again. So you know, you could sort of use your ink pad and drag it round. But as I said, I'm just using this. I rather like using this stuff, and I will take it beyond sort of around the outside edge as well, but not while I'm live. It just takes a bit of time. So I'm using quite a hard sort of stiff brush to put this on. You could use your finger as well, but I don't know, I don't like the feel of it. And I quite like the fact that if you've got hard bristles, I quite like the texture that you get from using the brush. So you can get some really lovely colours as well in this Pentart. There's a really lovely green in that. I think there's a red and a silver. I think there's also more, but they're the ones that I've got at the moment. I said I'm literally just dabbing it on all the way around. Just going to twist that round so I can do that bit. Right, there we go. Right, now what I'm going to do is grab, so I've got some light texture paste here, and I'm going to be using this stencil. So this stencil was from, I think is this from Quieter Days as well? I think it might be. I think it's called Gardens of Time. Um, I've scribbled something down here saying Gardens of Time, so I can only assume it is this one. And then, where's my little palette knife gone? So, I think maybe we will do the clock. Yeah, I quite like that clock. So, I'll grab a bit of that texture paste. And just pop that through. I hope that hasn't messed it up. So try not to lift it up like I just did. No, it didn't mess it up. That was lucky. I might do another one down here actually. I always like sort of working in opposites, even on the board, just because I think it sort of just looks a bit, you know, it makes things look more symmetrical, doesn't it? So a bit more down here. And lift that up carefully. Yeah, now I've got, I don't know where to stand that where I'm not going to get everything messy. got a bit overhanging the edge here, which I'm just going to sort of wipe off. And where's my tissue gone? Right, now I have got some soapy water beside me, so I'm just going to dunk that stencil in the water. Obviously, if I wasn't live, I would just go and give it a bit of a clean under the tap, but I don't want it to go hard or anything and ruin my stencil. Right, now I'm going to dry this off with the heat gun. I promise you, I have actually got the heat gun on. It's that magic heat gun again that doesn't make a sound. Um, but yes, I'm just drying it off. Obviously, if you do have time, I'd just leave that to dry for a little while. It doesn't actually take long to dry at all. Um, but because I sort of want to carry on working here, I am, just drying it off a little bit with the heat gun. Got a bit of texture paste there that I didn't want. Just try and scrape that off a bit. And cover that up with something. Just dry it for a little bit longer. See, actually, there are a few places still a bit wet. There we go. I think that's a bit better. Right. I'm just going to try and get some of that texture paste off my hands just because it is a bit powdery, and I'm going to pick the stamp up. Right. What I'm going to do now is the script stamp. I'm going to grab that. I think actually I will mount it. Very often I tend not to mount them, just because I think, you can kind of position the, if you only want to stamp sort of half the stamp, then you can do that. And let me grab my ink pad. So I've got here Very Perry. I think we'll go with that one because I think it'll match the hydrangea quite nicely. And we'll just stamp a little bit of script. And we'll actually ink it all up. Because I've got a flexi block here, I might not stamp the whole thing. I might do actually. We'll see. See how it turns out. I quite like that inky, circly, splodgy bit. And again, I'm going to work in sort of opposite corners. That colour actually goes really lovely with this theme, I think, doesn't it? With that purple in the hydrangea there. Yeah, right. Now in the centre, I'm only going to stamp a little bit of the thing. So I'm just lifting the stamp pad up a bit so you can see there I've only got about half of that stamp. I'll maybe go a little bit up here. I know there is some wording already up there, but do a bit of secondary stamping even. Right, and I think maybe we'll leave it there. Let's give that a bit of a clean and pop that away. You could even, if you wanted to bring in some more gold. Oh, I wish I knew where my embossing powder was. Do you know what? I've got here a different gold embossing powder. I would recommend the WOW one. I do prefer the WOW one. This one's quite an old one that I've had for a while. What I might do is just grab my anti-static bag first. I think I'm doing it a bit random. I don't quite know where I'm going to stamp them yet. But I really love these splodges on here. I think they're great. And I think it would just be nice to add just a small amount, a small touch of gold dotted around. Sorry, what did you stamp the clock faces with? I'm on um the clock faces was a stencil, Chris. Let me see if I can grab it. It's a bit wet, so just let me grab my piece of paper. I don't know if you'll be able to see it properly. So you'll have to excuse it. It's a bit messy because I've just used it. So it's this stencil. It's got the clock face on it. As I said, it's really messy. You can't really see it. Sorry, it's a butterfly. I've just dunked it in water, so it's not great, and it's got some beautiful words at the bottom. Said it's very, very messy, just because I've just dunked it in the water because I've used texture paste for it. Let me get rid of that and clean this up. So yeah, I used where's it gone? It's disappeared. Oh, there it is. I used the light texture paste through the stencil for the clock. And then I stamped the script in Peri Peri. I should really have dried that, it'll be all right. So the script here is stamped with Very Peri Versafine Clear ink. So yeah, I'd really like to bring in a little bit of gold. So as I said, I would recommend the Wow gold, but I haven't got, I've got no idea where it is. Where's my Versamark ink gone? Well, maybe we won't be doing, oh, it is out. I've already got it out, look. Right, so I'm just literally going to go in, I think, and just add a few random, I'll try and remember where I've stamped them to apply the embossing powder now. Let's go up there. And then maybe down here. Hopefully we don't cover all of them up with the butterflies. Right, let's grab that paper out again. I've already forgotten where I've stamped it, so let's just hope. I'm sure it's somewhere there. Yeah, they are. I'm just going to go for it and sprinkle and hope. Oh, let's picked up some of the actually it might be quite nice having a bit of gold on that script maybe. I'm not going to do the whole script gold. Well, that was a bit of an unintentional thing, but actually I'm going to go with it because I quite like it. Did we stamp one over here somewhere? Yeah. Right, so I've got a little bit of gold embossing powder on this text. And I said, I think I'm not gonna brush it off. I quite like it. It might look quite nice. Let's get rid of this. I think maybe I might have to get another gold Wow embossing powder at some stage. So again, I'm bringing out that magic heat gun. At least when I'm embossing, you can actually see that I'm using it. You can sort of see that embossing powder turning, can't you? Now, it does take a little bit longer when you're embossing on the MDF than it does when you're embossing it on card. But it does eventually melt. Hopefully you can just about see that. I actually quite like that gold on the text. It's funny how you do things and sometimes you don't necessarily want it there, or you didn't intend for that to go a certain way, and you end up with sort of happy mistakes, don't you? I'm calling it mistakes. I guess it wasn't a right mistake, but you know what I mean. There we go. As I said, it does take a little bit longer to work on the MDF. Let's turn it round. A happy accident. Yeah, definitely. I think it could be classed as a happy accident. It's quite nice that it's not actually on all the text. It just I will try and hold it up so you can see it a bit closer once I've finished embossing. But it does actually look quite nice having the two toned, the gold and the sort of bluey purpley tone text. And also where I flicked the embossing powder, I've got a few odd specks dotted. But again, I quite like that. Right. So hopefully if I hold that up, you can kind of see sort of some of that gold on the purple. I don't know if the camera's sort of picking it up, but there's just a touch of gold on just parts of the scripted bit, which I do really like. Um, right. Now I'm going to put that to the side again. And I'm going to do something a little bit different. So sizzle. Sizzle, sizzle, am I saying it right? This stuff here. I absolutely love this stuff. And actually, I've probably got a bit too much there. Let's take some away. Mum actually come up with this idea because I was making a project a couple of days ago, and I needed it to be a different colour. And Mum suddenly said to me, can't you colour it with alcohol inks? So that's exactly what I did, and it works like a treat. I've got a tile here, and I'm actually going to pop on a glove just because I don't really want to get right inky. Now I'm actually going to be using some Tim Holtz alcohol inks here, but on the website there is a different make. I don't know if I'm saying this right. Kilty alcohol inks. I'm probably saying that very wrong, so I'm sorry. I'm not very good with working out how to pronounce things, but yeah, there are some Kilty alcohol inks on the website, and there's actually some really pretty colours in them. I think I was particularly drawn to, there was a gorgeous plum colour on there, a purpley blue colour, which wasn't actually it. The purpley blue colour actually had another name, and it had purple blue written underneath. I'm not even going to try and say what that was called because I'll just embarrass myself. And then there was also a nice eggplant colour there. So they would all work really well with this colour. I think I'm actually going to go for the Distress Ink eggplant. Actually, I've got one with not so much in. I might use that. I'm just going to have a sip of drink. I do apologise. I've got loads of sizzle and in several colours too. Love using it. Yeah, I mean, you can get it in some other colours. I mean, I think this, and I think I've got black as well and something else. But I think this is a great way, if you're doing a project and you don't want it just white, just colour it with some alcohol inks. It's so easy. So all I did was literally, I said, very, very messy. Just dab those alcohol inks on there and just keep sort of moving it around on that into that ink. I'm going to add a few more drops. I probably could have even used less because, to be honest, I'm not going to use all of this, but I've got it for another project, so I'm not too worried. So I do really want sort of most of that covered. Sort of just adding a few drops into the actual sizzle rather than on the mat. And just keep sort of working it in. What I will say is just make sure that, it is nice and dry before you start putting it over your project. Because the last thing you want, obviously, alcohol inks don't take too long to dry, um, but you don't want to sort of mess that project up by sort of putting wet sizzle on. It's so tempting to go in with that other hand, and I'm trying not to too much because I don't want to get too inky. Could you add? Yeah, you probably could add blending solution. I haven't got any blending solution. I have actually got. Do you know what? I've got some. Uh, no, hold on. That's not that. Somewhere. I thought I had some. Sorry, I'm just looking in my drawers. You probably could add that. I've got some. Let's try some rubbing. I've got rubbing alcohol here because I keep it on my desk to clean my desk with. So I've just added a little bit of that. But yeah, maybe try a bit of blending solution. Isopropyl. Yeah, that's what I was looking for. I've definitely got that somewhere, but who knows where it could be at the moment. I said my desk is rather a mess, and I've actually had that out recently, so that's probably why it's not in my drawer. So let's add a bit more just to make sure. I'm just trying to make sure that all that white is covered, although it probably doesn't really matter having a bit of white in there. Right. I think that's sort of covered enough really for me. So yeah, that was just rubbing alcohol that I used there. I said I usually keep a bottle of that just on my desk because I usually use it to clean my mat with. Somewhere I've got isopropyl, but who knows where. But because I tend to use that instead of the blending solution. I think I run out of it ages ago and I sort of never really replaced it. Right. So let me get rid of that tile. Ooh. And let's bring this back. What I might do is just start positioning actually, I'm going to curl them. Let me grab, so I'm just using a paintbrush here. I'm just going to pinch that body on the butterfly. And I'm going to curl those wings just a little bit. Sort of over the brush. And it just gives that sizzle just a little bit chance to dry off. I'll need a smaller brush really for those tiny ones, don't we? Said I'm doing all of them at the moment. I don't know if I'm going to use all of the butterflies, but we'll see. I'd rather just do them and then I've got them ready if I want to stick them down. I feel like I want some words. I think I might let me put that to the side again. Because I've got this set here out, just in case I did want to stamp it. And believe in your dreams. I might just stamp that out. I'm thinking maybe stamp it in. Um, what should we stamp it in? Some Very Perry, maybe. Let's stamp it in some Very Perry, just so I don't want it too harsh. You know, I just kind of want it sort of a nice subtle sentiment there, really. So this is the That's Crafty Dragonfly Dream set. Mm, right. Actually, I'm gonna give that a clean because it looks very dark. So it's highly likely that I've got some black ink still on there. Yeah, I think I might have done. I was didn't clean that stamp very well last time I used it. Uh, I'm hoping this will be dark enough to read it, but not too in your face on the actual MDF. Yeah, I think that's dark enough to read. Would have actually been a bit nicer maybe on cream card rather than white, but it doesn't matter. What I might do is snip this out quite close. I'm not even really going to worry if it's straight, but I am going to cut it with a slight border around the edge. Yeah, I think that definitely would have looked nicer in a on a cream card rather than white, but it doesn't matter. We'll go with this for now. Oh, where's that bit gone? There it is. So yeah, I think we'll maybe go with that about there. Um, let's stick those ones down. So I've got some That's Crafty glue here. I think I'll try and use my tweezers if I can find them. Um, ooh, just sent something flying there. No, don't appear to be in there. Oh, where have they gone? Okay, we'll just have to do it without. They've disappeared somewhere. I did say it was going to be one of them lives where I lose everything. Now, I'm not even too worried if it's too straight, sort of when I'm sticking it down. I think, you know, they are a bit sort of hickledy-pickledy, these letters, so you can get away with sort of doing them a bit wonky. Oh, there we go. Let's go with that about there. Right. And then I think, yeah, I feel like that one needs to be up there somewhere. I don't know. We'll just go with that. Right. So I'm now going to just pinch bits of this sizzle off. Oh, I'm getting right caught up in it. made a right mess with this, and I'm sort of pulling it apart. So I want to stick it behind those butterflies really. So I'll go about there. Now I'm not really going to focus on sticking that down. Where's that heavy body stuff? Because when I stick the butterflies down, I'm going to sort of push the glue into those push the glue down, and it should sort of hold. It always has done in the past anyway. Right, so I've got the heavy bodied gel. Little butterfly look cute at the top. You think it looked cute at the top, and then just then, right, maybe I will put it at the top. I did wonder about putting it up there. We'll go for there then. Right, so I'm just using a little bit of heavy bodied gel behind these wings, because I want them quite, we want them curved and sort of raised. Plus putting it on quite thickly, I said, will help secure that sisal down quite nicely. What way do we want this one? I can't remember what way we had it, but we'll go about there. So just push them butterflies down quite nicely, just so that it grabs you can sort of feel when it grabs the the base. There we go. I'm sort of putting the normal glue on the bodies and the antennas, and then using the heavy body gel on the wings. I think I'm going to have to get some more of this as well very soon. I actually really love this heavy body gel. So I've always purchased pin flare glue in the past, but I was actually getting a bit fed up with it because I was finding that the lid would just snap, or the top of the pin flare glue would snap off, and then you'd end up with quite a lot of glue wasted. But the heavy bodied glue is really nice, I think, having it in the jar and just going in. Oops, I didn't pull any sizzle off, did I, for this one? Let's pull a bit more off, stretch it out a little bit. What way are we having that one? Turn it out that way, shall we? So again, just pushing that down until it grabs that base. Got glue all over my fingers now. Let's prepare a bit better for this one. So if you find that you are putting too much on, or it's hanging over the edge too much, you can just snip it off. And let's go. I don't like how that bit's very thick there. So what I'm going to do is snip that off a bit. That's underneath that first butterfly. Let's go there, I think. Right. I think we'll have that one facing that way. Right there, that's just about grabbed. Right, so now I'm going to stick the dinky butterflies down. And I don't really want quite as much. I do still want those wings sort of curved a little bit. Let's just see if I can get away with adding this on the body and the antennae. Where was that one? I think that one was about there, wasn't it? There we go. Ooh. Easy to make a mess. This is why I wanted the tweezers really, but it doesn't matter. Where was this one? I think this one was over here, wasn't it? Was it there? I can't remember now. Isn't that terrible? When you just picked it up. It's looking amazing, Dean. I love the sizzle, which is a clever idea to use it. Oh, thank you. I can't actually take credit for that one because I said Mum gave me the idea for a different project that I was doing. And I thought it was quite a good idea, so I thought I'd do it on today's demo. Right, so this one will have, what do you think about there? Higher up, let's go in the middle there. Right, now if you don't want all this bit of sizzle stuff hanging over the edge, you can just go through and sort of snip it off. I don't really like it hanging over too much. That bit's very loose. I mean, it's quite nice having a little bit of overhang, but I don't want too much of it. Right, I think we'll leave it at that. I'm just going to push that butterfly down again because it's come up a little bit. You might find that you need to sort of fiddle a little bit with the butterflies and sort of push them down. But, they will stick eventually. Actually, let's just trim some of this up over that text because we want to see some of that text showing through. Right, pull back all them loose bits. So as I said, if there's any bit that you don't like the sizzle on, just snip it off. Right, I'm not going to pull it off because obviously you don't really want to pull those butterflies off. But yeah, so I think I'm going to leave it at that now. Yeah, I absolutely love these. I think I need to get some more rice papers. Really, it's not something I tend to get much of, but I think you can just make some really nice, pretty, simple backgrounds with them. Let me pop that lid on there before I make any more of a mess with that and get rid of that. So yeah, that's the finished project. I said I will probably go around the edges a little bit with that Pentart wax paste just to finish it off. So, just because then if you've got any paint or anything around there, I think it's just a nice way of, it's just that final touch. Add in them finishing touches really complete it, don't they? Yeah. So I think I've read most of your comments. Anyway, and you can, sorry, just going back to make sure I read them, but I think I caught them. Amazing. Such a lovely live, Dean. I really enjoyed it. Oh, well, thank you for watching. Thanks all for joining me. Yeah, I said I really should do some more MDF things. I've actually got quite a lot of the door hangers to decorate. So perhaps I'll have a go at doing that during my next live. I'm not sure yet. We'll see. But yeah, so if you do make anything with any of the That's Crafty products, please make sure you post it in our group, the That's Crafty Creatives group. We always love to see your makes. Joe, I think, should be back on Monday on Facebook Live. And I will be back here in another 2 weeks' time. I'm not sure what the date is. I really should have a calendar next to me and look it up. I'm not that organised. But yeah, great demo. Thank you. Well, thank you all for joining, and thank you to Laura for doing all the links again. Obviously, if you did want anything that's I've used during the live, there are links all throughout the demo to the products on the website, so do check them out. Thanks, Dina, and thanks so much, everyone, for joining us. Yeah, and please do post your makes. As I said, I've already said it, but I said we do love to see them, and it would be nice to see some, some um, new makes and things in the group. But yeah, so I will be back again in 2 weeks' time. Thanks again for joining me, and I'll see you all again soon. Bye, everyone.